Hello, everyone, and welcome to RHAP's coverage for Survivor Global for Survivor 48. I'm your host, Shannon Guss, here to talk about the premiere. We're into US Survivor. For the fans and the listeners who are watching Australian Survivor and US Survivor, like me and my guests are currently, 4 nights a week. There's a lot of Survivor, hours of Survivor every single week. If I had to calculate, it was like 5 hours of Survivor this week. And we're here to talk about all of it with firstly my great guest. He is someone who was is finalist okay? I don't know. He made the finale.
I'll take finalist. I'll take it.
I think finalist. It's a great Mark Warnock. Mark, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Shannon. Yeah, hours and hours and hours of Survivor, hours of listening to you wrap up episodical episodes of Australian Survivor. But the OG's back, US Survivor.
Yeah,
can't not watch it, and I liked it. It's good. It's different, but it's good.
Mark, how long were you on that final torture challenge? What was your hour?
Shannon, buddy, you just go straight for the jugular, reminding me of my.
I just want to know if it was longer than the Survivor you've watched this week, and what was more torturous. We're loving Survivor, but how long were you on that challenge?
It was over 2 hours.
Over 2 hours. So easily we clear that.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you watch these episodes while in like a spinning wheel of doom though?
A spinning wheel of doom. No, I was on my couch. I was eating popcorn. I was having a nice cold drink. My wife wasn't watching me disintegrate and melt down in front of her eyes. It was very sweet. And I much prefer watching Survivor from the comfort of my couch than standing on that torture wheel. Any other challenge I'll take, but that one, no good. But no, this was great. I can't have too much content of Survivor. And there's White Lotus is back. There's Dondi. There's Traders US. Oh my goodness. Just block the world out and watch reality TV, people.
It is crazy how much television. I mean, White Lotus isn't reality TV. It feels like White Lotus kind of feels like reality TV because you know that someone's gonna die, right? So it's like that's like the who's gonna get voted out aspect of the whole series, kind of.
Yes.
And then the characters. I mean, I always think about this. About how I think Mike White has probably spoken about what his experience on Survivor contributed to the White Lotus. I just feel like he was watching there, he was right there watching Angelina ask for the jacket, one of the funniest moments in television history, and he was like, I'm gonna make a show about ridiculous people.
Yes, that's it. And also I've decided now, Steph for White Lotus. That's what justice for Steph, and Steph is White Lotus casting 101. She's got to be on it. The hat, the outfit, the sassiness, the snorting. I love that she was snorting the whole time. It was hilarious. I love Steph, and I think I'm devastated she's gone already. And but I think she can pivot from Survivor to something more profitable, which is being on White Lotus season 4, wherever it may be.
I absolutely love you getting us back on track. I'm like, we're going to keep it zippy. And then I'm like, what do you think Mike White's thinking when he creates White Lotus? But it is true. It very upset for Steph. For the people, if you know that I immediately got grenaded after being on the highest possible horse. Even I can see that it's funny. I was wearing a tiara. Everyone's like, you dropped your crown. I'm like, it was a tiara. And I'm still going to wear it while I'm still the reigning champion. But it's looking dire for me now. Because Steph, I think the issue was I said I saw parts of myself in her, and that was already such a red flag. Why would I go with that? I would never bet on myself. So no, Steph is better than me, and that's what I was hoping. And I don't know that she made a lot of mistakes, but I think in ways she got outplayed by someone playing very, very hard. And that's why my biggest questions of this episode, obviously did Justin and Kevin make the right decision, which I think is a very interesting conundrum we're going to look at. And did Say play well? Am I giving Chizy points to Say? Those are very much my two questions of this episode. But just in general, how did you feel about this premiere? How are you liking it? Just where we are in Survivor right now.
Yeah, look, it's great. It's there's a lot of hype. I think there's a lot of momentum going into season 50. So I like that they are weaving the season 50 momentum into season 48. So I think that the players are really gearing themselves up. They're buying into the excitement of the show, which is great. I think casting is pretty good in this season. I like that they have some big, buff, brawny, and slightly buffoonish characters. So I like that it brings a bit of versatility.
And Australian Survivor style casting. Present company excluded, of course.
Hey, I held my own. Anyway.
I thought more from the buffoon part of it. I'm not saying in terms of the buff part of it. Yes. The negative parts I was talking about.
Yeah. No, it's good. And Shannon, you say that you've picked up the grenade already, and we're wondering if, say, played well or not. It's like your path to winning the draft is similar to Say's path to winning the end game. I think that there is a very narrow way for you to win the draft. Unlikely, and I wouldn't want to be putting money on it. And I think the same goes for Say. I think that she has pretty much cooked her own goose. So whilst I found it entertaining, I think that this is very much short-term gameplay. And I think without making too many comparisons to Australian Survivor, I think she's a bit of a Nash character in that she shot herself in the foot. She's not going to win. But also it's sort of disrupted the tribe. And unfortunately, Steph caught a stray bullet and she's gone. So that's sad for Steph. But yeah, I don't know that this... And for you, of course, that's the most important bit. Yeah.
Yes, of course. My draft legacy is more important than who wins $1 million. I think that's pretty clear. But look, I want to talk about Say, and I want to talk about this whole Vula tribe. I mean, it's so interesting in New Era Survivor where it's so constricted in so many ways. And for some tribes, they have like total outs. Like if you look at like a Lagi tribe, the purple tribe, their whole big thing is like, you know, if the men are together, like they have Star as a target, and then like who else will they pick? And it's like the stats and the odds of them ever getting to the point where they even have to make that decision are so incredibly low. Like just to look at the stats, like if they're going to lose 2 challenges as what seemingly is like at least one of the 2 strongest tribes, if not the strongest tribe, based on at least the precedent set in this episode and their kind of, you know, win record of this episode. So they need to lose 2 of the next probably 4 challenges, maybe 5. Very unlikely, probably 2 of 4. That feels very, very unlikely. The New Era has never seen every tribe go to 2 tribal councils.
Yeah.
And even to get to like 6 pre-merge boots at all, you'd have to go all the way back to 41. So you're asking for them basically to become like the new losing tribe. And like, look, you can definitely lose 1 and then lose your Flint and get on a roll, but it just seems incredibly unlikely that they're even going to get to the point where they're choosing between like Eve and Bianca compared to Vula, who are on a track where they might become, you know, the disaster tribe. And then every decision actually is so important because it's like they're going to be lucky if half this tribe makes it to the merge, probably because of how we see that like the losing can compound, not like 47, but in most New Era seasons, I think 41, not really 43, 44, 45, 46, like that's already, you know, 4 seasons. There are disaster tribes. So every decision becomes incredibly important. So I'm kind of coming in higher than I thought I would be on what Say did, because I think that like the Kevins and the Justins of the world who are in these swing positions are going up now against like quite a difficult force if they choose to. All they're in it with Say for the long haul, and we'll talk about that. But like, if you were going to get Say out of the game, this was kind of the opportunity. It felt like you could probably blindside her. It felt like she'd probably vote for Steph. You wouldn't even have to really fracture the tribe on a split. And if Steph goes, I mean, like she's the other option anyway. You could maybe split on like a Cedric, which we can talk about. I'm sure they didn't want to do that, but there's a 2-2-2 split potential. There's, you know, you can really go in that way with 2 people who really want to work with you, in Mary especially and Steph, and they don't do it. And I feel like those opportunities will dwindle. So it's very, very hard for me, because when I'm looking at the Chizy points, I'm like high on Kevin as a player, but then I'm also kind of high on Say. And I don't know if you can be high on both, because it's like one has to win out. Like, can Kevin fully have his way in this tribe if Say is there, you know, with so much power? But like, if Say playing a good long-term game compared to someone like Kevin, who everyone loves, but she will again have power, like who's going to kind of be controlling what I think will be a tribe who is going to go through it probably in the next couple of weeks? And that's kind of my thesis point on this episode. Thank you for asking.
I love they should really beam you into Fiji as Shannon the historian, just like a little
I did some Shannon. It's very easy.
I think that would be good. Yeah, no, I like it.
The New Era makes it pretty clear.
I like, you know, I appreciate that Say is coming in hot. I like that. I also think that Steph came in strong as well. Like they both had their approaches. I think that Say, the whole basically, if you ain't got 4, there's the door. That's the motto of New Era Survivor. You ain't got 4, there's the door, and show yourself out. You know, don't let it hit you on the way out. And I think that Say basically took that saying to its extreme, which is, I'm going to find the bloody beware advantage. I'm going to share it with I'm going to get 4. I'm going to force it down their throat. And then we're going to be a 4, whether you like it or not. And I do think she had some good social elements. I think that's true. But I don't think that in the in the new era of Survivor, and I think 45 is my favorite. That's the one that D won, and that's right. Is that 45?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So I think that like having a 4 that is built on something more substantial than shoving a beware advantage down people's throats is going to be more sustainable. So that's why I think that whilst it paid off, I'm really sad that Kevin and Justin, Stoner Boy Justin, Pizza Boy, love him. Fantastic casting. I also, just side note, Googled where he's from. He's from a little town in Washington State, the far northwest. And so I don't know how many people are from like little towns like that, but I think I like to see a little of like that rural small town boy on my screen. Anyway, I'm sad that they also didn't step up to the plate, answer the call of Jeff, as you were saying, what was the call of Survivor? How did it speak to you? I wish that they had answered that call a little bit and was like, okay, you know what? We can actually have a super tight 4, get rid of Say, get rid of the idol. And then we are now in the majority without having to have this roadblock in the path that they're going to have now with Say there. She's erratic. She doesn't like looking at stars. She doesn't like talking about star signs. Like how are you going to bond with her? It's going to be like, she's just going to be, in their face all the time. And I think that it's going to be more difficult to navigate around in such a small tribe when the other Lagi. I've got the tribes printed off.
I love
here,
it.
But I don't have
so
color.
cute.
I don't have a color printer, so I need
That's
to
adorable.
write orange, purple, and green. But yeah,
Yes.
Vula tribe.
Yes.
In black and white, they are going to be going back to the tribal council again, and so I think Justin and Kevin missed a beat here to take the game into their own hands, pull off a massive move, get rid of Say. And Mary, oh my goodness, Mary and Steph, they're so much fun. I love them. Also, Mary is a counselor of some description. I think she's going to be giving redemption for psychologists all around the world that have played Survivor. I think she's fantastic. I really liked her social game. I really liked her style. I really liked her sassiness. I think she had a genuineness to her confessionals that I loved. So it's not a criticism of Say as a person. I just don't think. I think she's gone for the if you ain't got 4, there's the door, but she's taken it slightly too far. And unfortunately, it's going to be to Vula tribe's detriment. I basically have written them all off from winning the game, except for a Hail Mary for Mary. Hail Mary.
Literally Hail Mary. Yes. You don't do that on purpose? Wow.
No, I didn't, but that just came out. Yeah.
Incredible. Okay, a few things here. I guess let's look at Justin and Kevin first, and then I can make the case for Say. Okay. That does feel so counterintuitive to things that I try usually to endorse around, like you build up social capital and then you spend it strategically and maybe like, checks will bounce if it's like done in these kind of antisocial ways, like more through fear. And we can talk about that for Say, which I would love to do. But in terms of like Kevin and Justin, I think that's the question, is like, why do they side with Say? And it's out of one of 2 reasons. The first, which I'd love to look at, is out of fear. And if they've done this out of fear, I don't love that, obviously, because then I mean, like, you don't want to be making fear-based decisions in episode 1, especially because I think that Say as a threat is only going to become more real and scary to them. Yep. Like this again was like probably the most vulnerable she was going to be to actually take the shot at her. So are they scared of like shooting and missing? And then like maybe it comes back on one of them at a worst case scenario, or Steph, but then then again, like if it comes back on Steph, that wouldn't be terrible. If it comes back on one of them, I guess there's a fear in that. Do they not want to split on Cedric, who I think it's not really 3 pairs. I think that they're probably like a bit of a 3 with Cedric, so they probably don't want to do that, so they probably can't split. But again, you probably assume that Say would ricochet with an idol onto Steph, but that would be giving her all the power. So if that's a fear of just like, we're too locked up to take her out now, you're going to be way too locked up to take her out in the future. Like this was the biggest shot you had at the blind side, at a split potential. So here's my issue with Say, is that if you're getting to emerge in a 3, even if you take out Cedric and Mary before her, or a 4 if you take out Mary next with an idol, and it's this cohesive group, that's pretty good. But you have to weigh the timing and the fact that means that you now have to win most of the challenges. You're going to lose 1 challenge, which seems again for them incredibly unlikely. So you have to like weigh the odds of the fact that like you're going to come up against Say at a point. So next time, what does Kevin lose? Someone like a Mary, which he might not want to do, but might have to do to stay in a 4. And then what? Are you taking out like a Cedric at the 4 and hoping to go in as a 3. And then what? If you lose again and it's a real like disaster situation, she has all the power with an idol. How much trust are you putting into these situations where the splits become a lot less possible, where you don't have as great ricochet targets as a Steph, who's the target here anyway? It's only going to get dicier. I think that they've chosen the safe path now for the long game. I don't see how she gets out of it. And if that's out of fear, I'm concerned about it. If it's the choice that they want to make out of trust, firstly, let's credit Say on the fact that we're saying she's in a good position here and they have their hands tied. So we have to credit Say on that. That's the first part. If they want to work with her, they should be able to work with who they want to play with, obviously. And it's like centered on this concrete idol. And even Justin has a confessional that he likes how straight up she's been with him. And like, they definitely talk about that trust in positive ways, as much as it might seem strange to us, given how we're kind of seeing how it's going down in this intense way. But I just worry about kind of giving up the agency in the fact that she has power and the fact that she has protection. This is going to be like a rapidly dwindling group. And I think they'll kind of be without options. And if you keep losing, that actually might come back on you. So it's going to become weird. I'm still unsure about my Chizy points because I want to give a lot to Kevin. But the more I think about this decision, I feel like you've just handed so much of the game to Say. And then saying that, I have to credit Say, don't I? And don't we all?
Look, I think the fear. Okay, you've got the fear argument, which is bad. The theory, the fear theory, the theory is
Love it.
I
know I've come for your puns before, but that wasn't me. I love the puns.
I'm just picking up what you're putting down.
I know, that's exactly who I am. I'm sorry for being a hypocrite in the past. I love theory. I love the theory. It's amazing. Thank you. Some of the lisp as well is just perfect.
Okay, so I think that they are playing out of fear. However,
that's bad.
Kevin. Okay, let's just focus on Kevin. Let's leave my stoner pizza boy Justin to one side for a second. Love you, Justin. Kevin.
Hey, Justin went to an Ivy League school for the stoner guy. Okay, give him some.
Hey, I love stoner guys. Like they're brilliant. They're probably they probably ran countries in some countries. Anyway,
well, some people have run. Well, let's not make them the modicum of like the metrics. Sorry, of running countries as being the anyway. I digress. Yeah, please continue.
Understood. The way that this could make sense for Kevin is. And there's a little bit of history here. It's for me is if you get out what's her name, Steph, then you get out Mary. You basically are banking on the fact that you can survive up until a swap or they don't do swap, a merge, and then abandon ship. It's an abandoned ship strategy. It's not a strategy of going in with the strong 4 a la the Reba 4. This is I'm backing myself to insulate myself to get to like a tribe swap or a merge or whatever it is in the new era. And then I'm going to abandon ship. I'm going to use my social skills to create new relationships. And I'm just going to absolutely tank and abandon Vula tribe. And I'm just going to become a number for another tribe. And I'm just going to create new relationships. That's not, I don't think that's what's happened here. But I do think that that is a legitimate strategy in New Era Survivor, which is, okay, you've got a wild card in Say, she's got an idol, just stay close to her, and then just like try and scattergun everyone else in your tribe. And then eventually when you can get out of this mess of a tribe, you just go out on your own and then use your social skills and strategic skills to navigate yourself to a different alliance. That's what I would be doing if I was Kevin. And I think that they're stuck with Say for the moment, and which is, I'm so sad for Mary because I really hope that she can, do the Hail Mary. But if from Kevin's perspective, I can't see how creating a deep relationship with Say is going to work. Justin and Kevin and that's where I think Justin is I think he may struggle to be nimble enough to have that same strategy, the abandoned ship strategy. Kevin, what does he call himself? A lovable Labrador or something? Or he calls himself a puppy dog. Like, I think other people see him that way. So I think that he has the ability to have the abandoned ship strategy. Whereas I think Justin would sink like a rat if he tries to do that.
Well, a big week for rats. I feel like the ideal for me would actually be to stay with this 4. Like, if you can be a tight 4 around this idol, when we have heard positive social things, again, it doesn't seem right to us because we see the way Say talks to them. Like, we see language where she's basically like, don't be doing any funny business, and she's, yanking the kind of idol thing out of their hands. Like, it feels like a lot, but they are responding more and more. I think Cedric and Justin seem closer much to say, and like I feel like even like Steph talked about this exits the way they slept was kind of those three, and then like Steph, Mary, and Kevin. So Kevin may be closer to like the Mary side of things, which again is like a negative. I should probably be critical of Kevin here, but I feel like I want to be positive about him. But again, this 4 seems like they could have social longevity. It doesn't feel right, but it is what we're hearing. But the thing is that will that 4 make it to a Reba 4 position? Like Reba weren't losing challenges. They are the Lulu, they're not the Reba. And it's very unlikely they're going to get there. So for me, it becomes more about this kind of structure that I've been talking about since Survivor 41. Like this new era structure for tribes that might lose a lot of challenges. We talked about it with like, I think that was it Yasa in 41, like with what Evie was doing. The way that you want to get, if you're in like a pair, like this Kevin Justin pairs, you want to have like, basically, you want to get to like a 2-1-1 eventually so you can have the decision. You don't want to be in like a 2-2. Like this is how you go down to it. And the way that I look at it now is like if Say goes here and Kevin is even less close to a Steph but is close to Mary, then take out Steph next. And then you've got Cedric and Mary, and then you've got decisions, and you can work with them even into a merge if you're lucky and you get to that point. Or you can make decisions to cut whoever as you move on. And my issue with keeping Say here is that it's going to be hard to do that with Say next time. Like you can't do Steph Say because she's more likely to play the idol. Take out Say now and maybe even flush the idol in doing it, and they can be the 1-1 to get you to a 4 with Cedric next to you and Mary next to you. And I think that looks like the best structure from the limited amount of information that we have, and he can't do that. So I should be critical of Kevin, because the more I talk and think about it, the less I like it, the more I think he's given the power to say. But then it's like I want to give Kevin 3 Chizy points. because of these things. Firstly, his social game. So I like the way that people love him, the way that Say went to Cedric and Justin, and they said from the beginning, and Kevin, they had not even met the guy. And I doubt they'd listen to him on podcasts the way that Teeny had with Asia last season and was doing the same thing to her. Like that's insane energy and social capital so early. The way people talk about him, the fact that, to be fair, Vula started the puzzle last, but Steph still got all the blowback. Kevin gets nothing. Is the fact that he injures his shoulder in the first challenge, and they still send him on the journey, which is wild to me. And then he wins, and they come back and they call him a hero. Like that alone on pure just social game is so exceptional to me. So then I think, like, should I be really high on it?
Is he sparkly?
I mean, the way people are reacting to him, he must be sparkly. So then I look at it and I think, I have to be really positive about that. But then I'm like, will he be okay regardless? Because everyone loves him. He's got so many allies. He has to cut an ally because everyone wants to work with him. It's an unenviable position, I guess, to be so beloved. But then I'm like, has he put himself up against something difficult in a way that Steph was not going to be for him in a tribe where he could have total social power and control, but now has this idol threat in a way that will block him up and make that road more difficult? And I feel like I'm still questioning my Chizy points mark, which is rare for me coming into a podcast.
Yeah, well, I think that you can, as we've seen on Australian Survivor, like Kirby, she can have amazing social strategy, but then she makes it really difficult for herself. And I think that's what Kevin's done.
I don't know if this was that bad, although
but
it
I think that
worse the more we talk about it. So I don't know.
I think you also missed that Kevin and Kyle were doing whatever that challenge was. And then Kyle fills up his bloody bucket.
I know. And I credited Kyle a lot for that. But you're right. Kevin's probably just so lovable that people just smash their own bottles and start filling up his bottles. Like, what is this power that he has, this mind control power that he has over people? It's great. That might be the sparkliness.
I think that's it. Look, I think I'm really intrigued to see how Mary pivots here. I think say, how is she going to navigate around these numbers and then navigate around this idol? Can Mary approach Say? Can she try and use Say's eagerness to play a big game? Can she try and manipulate that some way? Who knows? So it's going to be interesting. I do think that we're going to see a lot of Vula tribe as well. But you know what? If this plan of Kevin's bites him on the butt, at least they've got a butt doctor on their tribe. We got Cedric. He can like sort of do a little bit of surgery, fix it up, and hopefully that could be Cedric's like addition to this alliance, is just like covering people's bums.
I don't know enough about the medical profession, certainly not in that area or in general, but I don't think that's the kind of butt doctor that Cedric is, like for bites. I don't know how many bites he sees a year. So just bit me on the butt. I'm going to need your help, doctor. I don't think that's the vibe.
Hey, look, it's like we didn't ask Charles what sort of legal expertise he had. He's a lawyer. It's like, I get in legal trouble, I need a lawyer. Something bit me on the bum, I need a bum doctor. That's all I seem to know. Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, okay, so now can I make the case for Say? I feel like in talking about why I'm kind of down on the Kevin thing, I have to be positive about Say. Well, I mean,
Take it
like
away.
Kevin, to be fair, Kevin has like a clear number one, they were the swings. Like he and Justin, both of them, credit to them. He has a majority, he has a side thing with Mary. Like there's a lot of potential, but it's just a decision I query. But Say, is it unlikely that she can win?
Yes.
Do I think that this ends in a Say win? I don't. However,
For the sake of the draft.
no, not even just for like, just looking at Say as a player, the way she was going to come in was going to make this difficult for herself. Within that framework, I think this might be the best way that she could have played the episode. I think she achieved the most that she could play. I mean, she talked in the preseason about Drea so much. I was like, man, she loves Drea. That was like the most thing I took from it. She talked about Drea over and over and over again. It was crazy. She loved Drea. And that she played a Drea game. And during 42, I spent a lot of time being like, in this new era where it's a shorter game, which I do think this is the kind of game where like this is, you know, an Australian Survivor, it's not going to work. Although Kirby, in her, not to really compare Say and Kirby, but like that intense like alpha gameplay took Kirby very, very far. But I do think in the new era, this is like the biggest chance for a game like this to just like alpha your way to the end. And I looked at that when the new era was starting with Omer and Drea, ironically, about like the kind of like savvy strategy of Omer and like the intense trinket game of Drea. And for Say to come in and want to play the Drea game, she couldn't have maximized on it more. I mean, she comes out of it, she has a 4-person majority. She's won the vote. She has an idol that, to be fair, she did it pretty much herself. Like she worked it out. She got it. She solved Beware all in this one episode. And what I really love is like she did use the idol to create a majority. You know, if you compare it to someone like Nash, who I feel like obviously didn't do that, and I wanted him to do something like that. Nash put people off with the idol. He was intimidated. People were intimidated. He didn't use it intentionally. She did what I want people always to do with the trinkets. To be fair, this is what I always say to do. Create a numerical majority and really make people feel included in that around this like symbol and this thing. And she did that. And that's her way of playing the social game. Now, again, I wouldn't back it over like a Kevin type social game. But for the kind of game that, like the only type of game that it seems like someone like Say can come in and play, she has to be who she's going to be. I don't see how she can do much better on that game style than she did in this episode.
Yeah, look, so essentially what you're saying is you've lowered your bar for Say. And you're like,
well, I just have to judge her on who she is, you know? Like I have to judge everyone on their own merits.
Fair. Look, I know what you're saying, and she got the outcome. Justin and Kevin had the agency to not give her that outcome. So, you know, there's a little column A, there's a little column B. In terms of playing a quote unquote alpha game the entire time, we got some big alphas on this season, you know, across the tribes. And is she going to be able to create connective tissue in the future with enough people? That's going to be her challenge, apart from just trinketing her way to the end. So let's wait and see. I'm confident in my I think and I've heard other players talk about this in the past, and I'm still not sure where I sit, but it's like, would you rather try and play to win and risk getting voted off first, or would you try and delete the chance that you're going to be voted off first and then just get to the next day and then see what happens?
Much
and
like
I think
the draft. Yes.
yeah, and I think Say has gone. And you know, she listened to Jesus. Jeff was like Jesus at the start of this episode, being like, take that step and listen to the call of Survivor, and how did it affect you? And I was like, wow, wild. Anyway, Say decided to not be first voted off. She guaranteed herself the 4. She wasn't going to be shown the door. Whereas Steph, I think, was setting herself up to play a winning game. But it comes with risk, because you can be a hurricane like Say can come along and sweep you away, and then you're done. So, but I think that Steph gave herself the chance to like establish social relationships, which typically are your best way of winning. So it's a risk-based decision, and I think if you had to do it multiple times, I probably, that's why I've got Justice for Steph under my name, because I think that normally, I think it's the better way to go. But that being said, Say's still there. She got through. She's still got an idol. She's got her 4 people. Good luck to her for the next 24 days or whatever could come to her. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like Rob and Stephen were talking about this a bit. I've listened to most of Know-It-Alls, where they were talking about you kind of like have to play to the speed of your tribe. You know, Steph comes in and most people are
Mm,
probably at her speed, you know, the speed of like making connections. Again, that is something I
mm,
highly endorse. I wrote an article about it for the confessional last year about like the social capital that you build that you can then spend. And like, you know, Steph is coming out there and wanting to build that social capital, which usually I'm okay with. Say is coming out there and is like, you know, borrowing money and going into possible debt, but is like
yeah,
making purchases that will help her accrue more money in the future. I don't understand money or business. I think that's clear, but I'm trying, like, I think that makes sense. And I think, and she got overwhelmed by the fact that Say was going at such a faster speed. Like she set the
yeah,
speed and the tone of the tribe in a way that was shocking because most people
yeah,
wouldn't do it that way. But at that
yeah.
point, like Say got left behind to that. So Steph got left behind to that. So is that what I said? I don't know. For Say, I would prefer if they chose to work with her on relationships rather than
Mm,
fear. I think for
mm,
Justin and Cedric, it seems like they probably did. As much as we see this as like Kevin being the king of the tribe and his decision, he still has to go with his swing partner and Justin. Like I think they're a bit of a three with Cedric. Like if that's the relationships they have, I think that maybe that did sway it for Say. And if that was what it was, I'm very, very high on it. And if it was fear, like either way, it got the job done, right? And I think again, it's going to
mm,
be trickier to get rid of her in the future. And I do think that she did other, like she had good reads on like Justin coming back and not giving her the information. I think she's even like
mm.
that Steph played her shot in the dark. Like she has some good instincts for the game, even if one of those instincts isn't, I should make, you know, real friends before I start like, you know, jumping into bed with them. It worked, and I have to credit that. And I think that it was the best Say could play. I think that's the thing.
I wanted to say quickly about Steph. So at the tribal council, I thought
Yeah.
I thought it was a really interesting conversation between Say and Steph, because Steph is lovable. She's got a tropical outfit. She's, you know, smiley roses. What is it? Air signs and talking about stars.
I
But
think
as
they're
soon
both
as Say,
airsigned, but yeah.
yeah, as soon as Say sort of comes at her, Steph defended herself. It was really, she showed that she had an adaptability in terms of saying, "Hey, Say, like just because like we're all playing our own game out here, and I don't think that, you know, you can dictate to me how people are playing their games. Like don't like don't be fooled into thinking that just like sitting around looking at the stars is like us just being out here on a holiday. It's not." And so I think I think Steph read the room. She played her shot in the dark, so she also had the read as well. And it was just, you know, can you imagine if that pulled off, like the shot in the dark? That would have been incredible. But yeah, so I think that I think Steph did, not only did she had her strategy, she obviously didn't realize how abrasive, or how what's the word I'm looking for, interest based game Say was going to be playing. But then even at tribal council, she kind of pivoted quite quickly and defended herself. And I'm just sad that Justin and Kev didn't see that. You know what I do think potentially is that Steph and Mary may have looked like a really tight duo. They may have looked to the rest of the tribe like a really tight duo. They were clearly getting on like a house on fire. And so potentially it was the strength of the Mary Steph relationship that was like, they may have been the strongest pair, and that could have been potentially a factor in their thinking. Yeah.
I wouldn't agree with that though, because I still think one person with an idol and what's going to be a 5-person tribe, I'd rather a
Oh,
pair to my majority of 3. Like I think
of
that's a
course.
lot. Like I would rather do that and then just take out Steph next time, and then Mary has, you know, nowhere else to go without someone who's blocked up by an idol. It's the fact that they are going to struggle to come for Say next time and only have made it more difficult to blindside her than it would have been in this
Yeah. Yeah.
episode, probably like as more time goes on and she has more time to kind of like read the new direction of things. That's my issue with it, because it's just like that's going to give her a lot of power. And who are you splitting on? Are you splitting one vote on Mary then? So what, it's like I guess they could do that, and they include, you know, that Mary's going to be in it. Let's work this out. So if Mary's voting with Say, let's say that Mary goes to Say and it's like, let's do something. And
Mhm.
then they put 2 votes on Mary. And then Mary and Say, if they put 2 votes on Kevin and they've split 1 vote. No, sorry. They put 2 votes on Say. Say is, yeah, that can't work. So they're giving Mary an off. Okay, I think this makes sense. If they want to split the vote, the 4 of them, they'll have to split 1 vote on Mary, 2 votes on Say, 2 votes on Kevin if Mary flips over. Kevin would go home 2-1 with the idol. So you have to assume that Mary's going to be with you in the 4 to split that 1 vote while you're splitting on her, and not hoping
Yeah.
she goes over to the other side out of self-preservation, which she might have the wherewithal to do. I think that makes
Mary,
sense.
Mary needs to pull out an immunity win. She needs to get on the puzzle and psych out Lagi and Siva. She needs to do something.
Yeah, this is when you can't properly split and you're going to have to include someone that you're doing a 1 vote split on because, say, has an idol, you don't want to like pile votes on her. I think it becomes tricky business, whether it's Mary, whether it's like Cedric in the future. It gives a lot of power to people. So this is my issue for going forward with Say. In terms of the vote this episode, I think that all made sense. I'm doing it in the moment, but I think it made sense. In terms of the vote this episode, there were some interesting decisions made. Firstly, as we were talking about Steph playing her shot in the dark, it's a no-brainer. She said she really knew she was on the bottom, let alone the fact that they're not even like fake splitting with her. I mean, they're not with her at all, but like she thinks it's at best a 3-2. 4-2, so might as well be a 3-2, or you're on the bottom, which seems highly likely, in which case play a shot in the dark. So that was a no-brainer. And then not splitting here was interesting with their 4, because they can split on Mary, and that speaks to the social capital that Mary has with someone like a Kevin. I thought that was really, really interesting, and I guess the plan is, okay, if Steph's shot in the dark hits, like, you know who has the idol, so that's not the issue. But if Steph plays a shot in the dark, which she does, and it hits, which 1 in 6 chance, there's a small chance then, not that, Say would go home or one of your majority would go home, because I don't think it would be the best for Say to go home in that situation. You voted against Steph. Now you're kind of like offside with possibly Steph and Mary, but they're both in the game. But that's not going to happen. Like if Steph's shot in the dark hits, Say is playing the idol. At that point, Mary will be forced to go home on the revote. But now you've got the idol out of the game, which isn't terrible. You can take out Steph next time and even move forward with Say possibly and hopefully find the idol yourself. So I think they probably felt fine not splitting, maybe even flushing the idol, not pissing off Mary more. And in the tiny chance that like Steph plays a shot in the dark and it hits, there are still outs with Say's idol rather than having to like split a vote on Mary out of an abundance of caution. So
wow, that's interesting. I've never thought of that before. Like not splitting and still getting, like, if you can game that out in your head, which is impressive if you can do it, that you're actually still going to get the outcome you want. I wonder.
Yeah. Well, look, for Say alone, if I'm Say, I think I'm splitting 1 vote on Mary because I don't want to, like, again, like if the 4 of them are against you, it's done anyway, right? But if you're hoping that your 4 is going to win out, I don't know that the others are probably happy for her to burn the idol, right? Let's go. That's the issue. It's going to block you up. Like, let's go forward without the idol. If I'm saying you only need 1 vote on Mary, because again, it's not going to be a 2-2-2. You know where the idol is. The issue is a shot in the dark. So the issue is that as what happens, Steph will play her shot in the dark. Mary will have 1 vote on Say. It's a 4-1 on Say. You would assume
what an alpha game Say would be playing if it's like, I've got my 4, but I don't trust you. I'm chucking 1 on. I'm holding my idol.
Well, it's not even to not trust them. It's more just in case the shot in the dark hits. Because now if the shot in the dark hits, she has to play her idol. If she voted for Mary, it's going to a 1-1 on Say and Mary. She would assume her allies will vote out Mary. I think maybe at that point, when she doesn't play the idol, they maybe take the shot on Say anyway, which would be very back and forth, but would take Say out of the game, especially again with the kind of social investment that at least Kevin has in Mary. But you would think you just split like the 1 vote. It's your own vote only. You're the only social capital that's going to be burned, which feels like something Say would not care about. So it's just an interesting thought that I'm having in the moment that she alone wouldn't do that to protect an idol. I totally see the other guys being like, let's go 4 strong and Say, if we cost us your idol, we're just going to have to deal with that, in the knowledge of like, if they were to lose her idol, there are probably worse things for the guys who are going to be blocked up by it. Does any of this make sense, or am I just saying numbers now? Sometimes I get into this and I'm like, I don't know, but I think it makes sense. I think it
I agree that sometimes I get confused, but I'm actually not confused this time, so it makes sense.
Wonderful. I love it. Well, that's kind of that tribe for me. Interesting stuff. What did you see from the other tribes who do you like? What kind of,
I've got my favorites.
Yeah.
I've got my favorites.
Yes. Let's talk about it.
So Siva, Orange, Camilla. Love Camilla. I really liked her game. I thought she was really good awareness of how the tribal dynamics were going. Charity was still coming to her, but she didn't like the vibes that she was bringing, and she managed to create quite an interesting mix of players together with some, like David is obviously such a random, big, brawny, talking about eating red meat and fast cars and movies and stuff, but also trying to like Notting Hill. Like, I think Camilla is going to be able to work her magic in that tribe really well. I also like the shout out to the whole Guyanese thing. I think that's really interesting because I think Gem on one of the previous seasons was one as well. So I like that a lot. And then on Lagi, oh my God, Lagi, what a tribe. What an interesting mix of people. Thomas, fantastic. Oh, so interesting. Also, just again, I think sometimes in the new era, there's this push to be a larger than life character, maybe someone who you're not. You're sort of like forcing it a little bit. But Thomas was just purely himself, enjoying himself, having fun, being open to unexpected relationships. So I love the California Girls. And then obviously Joe and Eva, what a moment. That was just incredible television, really special. And I there's just so much about that. We don't have to go, I'm sure everyone's already said it, but the way that the world has just evolved to have people like Joe to be able to listen and take it in what Eva's saying, for Eva to have the ability to choose Joe, it was just incredible. So that was I've never seen anything like that on Survivor, so that was really fun. Star seems to be a bit on the out on that tribe. I like on Lagi how you've got the California Girls, and then you've got Thomas still wants to be friends with Bianca is his number one, and then you have Eva and Joe. So there's a bit of a messy network going on there, and I'm really intrigued to see how that plays out.
But we never will, because they'll never lose each other.
I know. How big is Joe? I love seeing Firefighters and Survivor. Seriously, it's such good casting. Really good. I love it. And I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. Shaheen. Really interesting player as well. I love the thickness in his beard on day one. That's really good. I'm sure the producers love this because it's really annoying when your hair growth doesn't match the timelines in case they cut in the confessionals.
More of an issue in Australian Survivor, which will show weeks later.
But he's gone in thick on day one, so they're like, "Oh, thanks. Yeah, we can use a confessional on day 4 for a day one confessional." So yeah, really liking that. Also, shout out to how long has it been since we've mentioned Christy from Survivor Amazon when Mitch was talking about when he had his moment on the mat. That was really special. I always loved there's some of the Dina and Christy on Survivor Amazon were just like some of my favorites, and I just love that the show was able to acknowledge that that really deep and what an interesting player. So that was really cool as well for Mitch. So yeah, they're my so yeah, Camilla, love Thomas. Yeah, Camilla and Thomas are my faves, and Chrissy. I actually think Chrissy's really fun as well. The Chicago, I love the different American accents when they have a bit of diversity in accents, and I picked up the Chicago accent from Chrissy, so I like that too.
Yeah, what are the odds that in 2 consecutive seasons, Survivor the Amazon player would be referenced? Considering Asia said Rob has a podcast on the last one, that's our Rob. He was on Amazon, and then Christy 2 seasons in a row, and Amazon doesn't usually get its due, so. A couple of things here. Firstly, Camilla and Kyle with the Holes Alliance. Have you seen/read Holes?
I actually don't know what that movie is, but Sass
does.
Oh
my God!
Sass was like, "Oh, that's the bad because also Shia LaBeouf." So if you go away and Google Shia LaBeouf, and he's bald and he's got a bit of facial hair, I actually look a little bit like Shia LaBeouf. And so Sass was like, "It's your guy, Shia LaBeouf. He's in Holes." And I'm like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." So then Sass yelled at me. Well, not yelled at me. She explained to me.
He should yell at you.
So yeah.
I think Holes had more impact on my life than any other book in the whole world.
Oh,
I should rewatch Holes. Basically, when I was in the 5th grade,
Yes.
So actually what happened was in the 5th grade, I got moved up to English Extension.
Ooh.
And the first book we read, I don't remember what it was, but I hated it. I hated it so much. I think I was scared of it. I was scared of a lot of things at that time. I don't know. It was like a time travel book, and I was scared of the past. Anyway, I hated it. And he went back to the Shakespearean era. I just didn't like it. And I was like, I'm going to drop out of English Extension and go back to where I'm safe. And then the second book we read was Holes, which I loved so much. It was my favorite book of all time. And then we went and we got to see the movie because the movie came out right after we'd read it. We got to take our parents, and I remember as a 10-year-old, now I can recognize how irritating this would have been, but I was whisper explaining to my mom during the movie, just the context from the book that I'm sure the movie was doing a really, really good job of explaining itself. And that made me love English so much, and it made me love that class. And then English became my subject, and I went into journalism, and now I'm in media. I honestly think without Holes that probably doesn't happen. Holes is
we wouldn't be here today without Holes, and it's
probably not. Probably
Wow.
not. It was like a life juncture, and Holes did that. And I think
Well,
you should come to Sydney and we should watch Holes.
let's do it. Let's do it. And also, like clearly Camilla and Kyle had this reaction. Like they maybe were
It's so
also
good.
in grade 5 extension because the level of their reaction
So good.
was huge. I thought The Outsiders was my like. I was like, oh, there was like the book and the movie. So I mean, obviously it's an old book and movie, but look, let's do it. Sydney,
I'm
Sass, come
surprised you haven't
down.
read it. Because I thought it was on the
All
curriculum.
right,
Like
stop
Peter said
stop
that he read
throwing
it.
shade.
Were you at school in Australia? Like I thought we all read Holes. Oh, it's so
I
good.
read
It's
The
so good.
Outsiders. Yeah,
It's
my
so
book was The
good.
Outsiders. I think it was the same thing. But yeah.
It's a
Okay, look,
very powerful book and movie. It's so good.
it's got Shia LaBeouf. He's my guy. It's me, so I'll do it.
So I was all in. Like I think Shia LaBeouf had like his own issues, like stuff. But like that shouldn't take away from the fact that Holes is a great freaking movie, and I want to be in that alliance. Like I can only hope for charity's sake that when we see her throwing Carl under the bus to Camilla, like she's there in all the scenes where Carl and Camilla are like, "Oh my god, did we just become best friends?"
I know.
And I really hope when she throws him under the bus, it was like before Carl's even come
Before
back
that.
from the journey. Probably because
Yeah.
she's like, he could have an advantage. He's not here. I really hope it was before that. But between that and then the shot of her napping, I was like, oh, deadly
Oof.
episode for Charity. It's over, Charity. I'm so
Oh,
sorry. It's done.
I
And I know she was a lot of
know.
people's winner pick, but it's over because she napped in one tiny scene. So it's done.
Well, we know from Australian Survivor that napping in the game is never a good thing. So
Well,
yeah.
from any edit of anyone, unless they have agency and they're like a jokester like Tyson, if you nap, it is the kiss of death. You will, if you're
Yes.
shown to be napping in an edit, you're done. So Charity, not in a good spot. Like both of the tribes have this kind of interesting dynamic where they have a clear target and like a Charity or a Star, and then a majority. Like we have this majority in Siva, that's Camilla and Carl, and then like David and Chrissy. Mitch is on a bit on, like he's not in that. And then Charity, and then Lagi, we have the guys again deciding between these two women, but it's never going to happen. And then Star as the kind of next boot. So we kind of have a sense of like where those dynamics are. But yeah, I mean everyone's talking about the Joe and Eva conversation, and I think that like in the new era, I don't know how many people are like intentionally using Eva's autism against her in saying that she because that's her issue, that's her concern is like the vulnerability of that. In saying that Joe will give up his game for her. The confessional that he has where he's like, if I have to go home for her, I will do it.
I got you. Yeah, I was like, yeah.
She found the dad, like the old school dad who said he wanted like to bring a group to the end. Someone who will literally put her before himself.
Yeah.
Like, and the crazy thing about it is like, if the fear she has in her, like in her autism is, oh, I can't pick up on social cues and it would be hard to connect with people. She just picked up on the best cue. She read the best person to give that to and perfectly connected. Like that was perfection. So like that shows that she can overcome even those kind of things she thinks about herself, because then she makes a perfect decision on the perfect read of Joe.
Yeah, incredible. Yeah, it was Joe seems like he gives off that vibe as well. He may have spoke about his kids as well. That was a feature in his, as soon as he got the call at the start, he was talking about his kids. But yeah, incredible. Great. Like, it's so genuine. It's such a genuine connection. And I think that it's going to be so valuable. You look at that strength of the Eva Joe connection. Joe is never like I don't think the California Girls is going to work because of Joe and Eva. It's going to be a bedrock, a cornerstone.
They're never going to get there.
You're right,
Shannon. About this is the merge. Like it's fine.
Hey, I want to say one thing. I was just Googling quickly. So Siva, so on Lagi, you've got 1, 2, 3 color people. Like it's incredible that they have 3 people from California, right? Yeah. And then the Siva tribe, the 4 that came together. What I like, I just wanted to give props to Camilla for one more thing. So Camilla's from Foster City, which is in San Francisco. David's he's the other one from California, Buena Park, which is in Los Angeles. Kyle's from Brooklyn, New York, and Chrissy's from Chicago. I like how and then that tribe, Charity's from Florida, Mitch is from Texas. I like that when the tribes are a bit more geographically spread out, so you don't have this like rush to like, oh, we're all from the same state, which is an interesting thing in Lagi, because I think Eva and Joe have made their connection. But in terms of that initial bond, Joe, Thomas, and Shaheen being the California Girls, I think it's like I think like the way that they've split these tribes up is a bit strange to have all those California boys on there, and then also they're all so buff, and then you've got Vula who
Yeah.
could have used a bit more muscle. You know,
People have said,
what have I missed here? Like what am I
yeah,
missing? It
it
seems
seems
a
unfair
bit
from a physical
unbalanced.
standpoint. Yeah, people have
Yeah.
said that. I do think it's interesting geographically because I know that US Survivor used to cast like a lot of California, like really like stick it to the
Right.
coast. And I think I'd have to do the research, but I'm sure the diversity initiative has it also extended geographically. I'm not super sure. Like I
Mm.
know Australian Survivor sometimes would cast, like I remember one time it was in the first Brains versus Brawn. It was
Mm.
during the 2021 lockdown, and I remember there was
Mhm.
like a gathering outside, which we were allowed. We weren't allowed out of the 5 kilometer radius,
Yeah.
but there was a gathering outside of like half the cast, and I'm like, literally, all of these people are from the same 5 kilometers, or they're breaking the rules. But I
Yeah.
think they were all from Bondi. Like literally,
Yeah.
I think the casting people at that time just walked around Bondi, just being like, "Do you want to play
Yeah.
Survivor?"
Yeah.
Which is crazy because I lived in Bondi. Well, my parents lived in Bondi at the time, and no one ever came up to me.
Mm.
But yeah, I feel like it's interesting because sometimes they'll really kind of like stick it to these like same geographical regions, and sometimes it'll be more diverse. But you are right,
Mm.
definitely in the way that the tribes are. I mean, we've said before, are they intentionally causing disaster tribes? Is this a
Mm.
storyline that they like? It does make you very, very invested in one tribe. There is a lot to think about
Mm.
with someone like Kevin, who's making a decision that might play out 3 to 4 votes down the road with someone like Say, but then you compare it to Alagi, who, as I'm saying, oh my God, who are they going to choose? I really don't think they're ever going to get to that juncture. And that's the trade-off that they make. Are they
Yeah.
doing it on purpose? You know, they put people on these like shitty beaches, the same disaster tribes on the same beach every time. They take away their flint. Like it compounds, I think probably unintentionally, but like
Mm.
if it was intentional, there'd certainly be a lot of decisions made to do that. So casting like an uneven tribe would be only one of the laundry list of things they're doing that just screws over a Vula that really looks like they are in like a world of trouble for the pre-merge.
I think Jeff is got a dark streak to him. I think he's done this on purpose. And I also want to shout out to our good friend of the podcast, Annabelle from Traders Australia, because she said that just on Jeff having a dark streak, Jeff can just set up this vote for season 50 and then just claim that all of the fans agree with him and just manipulate the ending anyway. So
Well, we're
I
going
think
to get
that
into vote rigging in the US again. Is that going to be the conversation that we're going to have about whether the
just for
votes
Jeff, just with respect to
can?
Jeff, no one else. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think that he's done it on purpose. I've decided. Yeah. He
I
likes
don't
the
think
disaster tribe.
that Jeff has thought about. I'm sure he could understand it, but I don't think he's thought about the ways that like these small tribes, like the losses compound to create disaster tribes. I think a lot of that is unintentional, but I do think they like the storyline, and I think they aren't probably that fussed if it's uneven. If that's the way the storyline goes, I don't think they're going to go out of their way to designate the tribes away from it, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? They're like, well, fight for your life. Like, I think they're okay with letting it happen at the very least. The vote stuff, by the way, can we please talk?
You
Did
wanna
you
get
see
into it?
this? Did you see
I ha-
this? Did you see the fire vote? I'm sure it's been talked about at length. Again, I haven't
It
finished
was
it all.
like the framing of it was like
It was
one.
crazy. It was literally this. I'm paraphrasing, but barely. It was like, fire is wonderful. It has created so many incredible moments. But for some reason, some people don't like it, those stupid idiots. Anyway, let's vote. Do you want to have fun fire and give the players agency? Describe fire as agency, which is the craziest part of that.
Yeah,
It's like largely luck. But like, do you want to give the players agency for fire and be fun? Or do you want to be like a boring ballface who's boring, who gives them just a stupid vote? Anyway, you can be really fun or you could be really boring. You decide. It's up to you. If you want to be a boring ballface. You decide.
And
it's crazy. I thought it was fake when I saw it on Twitter at first.
I did too. I did too.
Yeah. It seems like a parody. It's self-parody now.
It was only until I saw Jake from season 45, who I love. Shout out to Jake, and he was like did a edit of it being how he was like the only one voting for the fire option because obviously it was good for him. I mean, like, yeah, he was acknowledging it,
Jake,
but I was like, oh wow, that's real. That's real. Oh my god. Okay. Also, I thought it was interesting that they had in voting. Like when you go to vote, you always want to be at the top of the ballot paper because like if you just do a donkey vote, like if you just vote top to bottom, you want to be number one. Yeah, it was interesting. I thought it was interesting that their positive golden fire is great one was the first one, and then there was like the second one was the one was like, oh,
yeah,
old school, like voting's for losers. I'm
surprised that they didn't make it like if you can find it on the page, if you can find it, you can click on it and then make it like tiny, small, and then have it like
Like
jumping
one
around the
pixel.
page, and you're like trying to click. Like if you can get it, then you've earned it. Like the way that they have to earn everything, we have to earn our vote to get rid of fire. And like
Yes.
I genuinely like look. The casting of the new era is great. I think that they have maximized this format with the casting. Even things like the challenge that Kevin and Kyle did. You know, there was some interesting decisions. But again, it's 3 challenges in an episode. Like it's not
Yeah.
so interesting. But then Kyle making that decision to help Kevin. Okay,
That's
an interesting
something.
moment.
Yeah.
That's what casting does. That's what Kyle does. So I think that like again, like the casting of the show is great. I'm always having fun with the new era because I think casting is like most of the show. But like I'm just a little bit concerned that like I mean, I'm glad that they're giving us at least a semblance of a vote here, but it's the way that they see it. It's the way that they could describe fire as having agency. Like, no, like your vote is your agency. It's like, it's the opposite. You know, like if anything, just having to make a fire, like the wind and deciding your fate, a challenge and the wind deciding your fate to me is so much less agent than I have a vote and I can hopefully manipulate other people to vote how I want them to vote. That is Survivor. So it's the way that it's phrased, it's the way that it's seen. And even like I read an interview with Jeff where he talked about a final 3 and 2, and he was like, I don't understand how anyone would like a final 2. I'm like, hey, let's talk about it then. Like, if you don't understand it, let's talk. And because he was like, it's so much harder to beat 2 people. It's harder, but they have to earn things. It's harder. And I'm like, okay, but like, just to start, if it's the final 2, like as you can attest to, it's harder to get to the final 2. So that already makes at least that part harder. Like, let's at least engage in that conversation. If I felt like they understood the other side and still chose their things, like fire, like a final 3, that would be fine. But I feel like we should be having a conversation on the pros and cons with production. And just when I see language like that, it just when I see language like give them their their agency of making fire, I'm like, that is the opposite of what is true, and that concerns me.
Jeff loves to talk about, season 1. Season 1 got referenced again by Chissy. She in your first episode, Jeff. She said your first episode, season 1. Rich stood down on the final immunity challenge to have a final 2. Like he was there. Jeff was there. Jeff knows this stuff. He's blissfully, I think he's willingly ignorant of the conversation. He's got what he likes and he's going to use his power in his dark streak.
We gave us a vote, maybe.
Maybe. So what are the other things that you can vote on? Fire?
Well, it's going to be more throughout the season. We can't vote, by the way, because they know that I would be there. No, I'm joking.
They know.
I think we can use a VPN.
Keep that Shannon girl out of here.
Yeah. Well, should we let the internationals? Well, there's one really annoying girl in Australia. I think we just ban all internationals. We could use a VPN.
Maybe. Actually, I voted. I think they've just blocked you, Shannon.
That would be great. That would be great and probably well earned as I am here ranting about it.
Jeff has asked Mark Burnett to ask who to block you.
Yeah, literally. Voter suppression. No, I feel I'm just concerned when he's like, I just don't understand. It's so much harder in a final 3, and it's just so easy to be like, but it's so hard and complex to get to a final 2, just to get whatever. I can't be bothered. I can obviously. Please let me vote, Jeff. No. So the things I can vote on now that I think there'll be more things through the season, but this week was the colors of the buffs, which is something I don't really care about. And they gave them options. It wasn't just like you choose colors. So whatever. And then the fire, really fun fire, really boring vote.
Really fun.
Rice or no rice, and then the live reunion / keeping it in Fiji, were the other 2. So I guess like the live reunion.
Surely people are going to vote for that.
Yeah,
that's
people
something
want
that they already want. Something that production's probably like, okay, we'll put this to a vote.
Yeah,
we're already going to do this.
Well, I mean, they from a budget perspective, it's a lot more expensive. But it was COVID originally that took that away. But I mean, people don't like the fact that the final tribal council losers are like sitting there sad. I think that's always been a really tough one, having to like distill the whole experience rather than like they probably read the writing on the wall to lose and then be there at the reunion and at least are like, dollied up. Dollied up's not a word.
Yeah.
Whatever, dolled up. And
dolled up, yeah.
And they've eaten and like they have their loved ones there at a live reunion, and then it's like they're all eating pizza. People hate that part of it. I think it always felt special when they were at the live reunion. I mean, I guess I don't think I care about that as much as other people do. Like, I think I would lean live reunion, but like, I'm okay. There are other things I would take out of that I would change about the new era before that. I think Survive South Africa kept them all there for the next day.
Mm.
and kept and got all the pre-merges back because it was filmed locally.
Oh
I think
wow.
the biggest thing about so I think the next day, and then they were all dolled up, and it was the next day, and they'd all like had the chance to decompress. I think the biggest thing that I'm missing is in the live reunion, the pre-merges could be there, and I think having the whole cast there actually is very important. So that's like the biggest thing, the biggest.
I agree.
I have to
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
You'd
fair. Hey, also that season 50 logo, like you decide or whatever, is that real or is that their
I
actual
think that's
banner?
just for the vote. I don't think that's for
Okay,
actual
all
season
right. Because it
50.
looks
Oh, well,
very much like a
actually, thinking about
12-year-old
it as
kid did it.
well.
Yeah.
Well, thinking about it as well, 50 is going to be returnee season. So to have pre-mergers who are probably like legends that we love not at the
Mm,
reunion will
yeah.
particularly suck. So they have to
Yeah.
have, like, if you were to take the pre-mergers back to Fiji and do it the next day, like Survivor South Africa did, I don't really mind.
Mhm.
But right after in the devastation for the losing finalists and without the pre-mergers in a returnee season, yeah, we have to go back live. And I think they don't seem to put their thumb on the scale of that. And then rice or no rice, how do you look at that? Because I feel like former players care about this the most of anyone. So I don't know if you have a
Yeah.
take on.
I mean, like, I will always. Like, I've heard Ricard when I listen to Ricard talk about Australian Survivor. He's always commenting about how much food we get, and he,
It's
as a player,
47 days.
I know. Hey, I know. Don't you worry. I know.
They all of them pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I think that for 26-day game, no rice. I want to see some struggle because I think that I think that I would rather a longer time, but I think Jeff said that's off the table
Yeah.
with
From
rice.
a
But I
budget
think
and
yeah,
scheduling.
I
Yeah.
think if you're going to go shorter game, I want to see smart people do dumb things like me. And I like I did dumb things because I was struggling because it was a long time out there. And I think that Camilla, for example, is a genius. I think she's super smart. She's got great strategic read. She's really social. I think after 20 days, she's going to start to lose her marbles a little bit. So I want to see that because otherwise it's too. I don't like the gamebot game. I like a little bit of emotion. That's why I love Eva and Joe. And I think it's going to be really interesting after potentially a long period of time to see how their bond is just they won't be able to see anything else. And I think that's going to be interesting. So I say no for 26-day game, no rice. Yeah.
I think that's an interesting argument because I think what most people would say is like, we want them to be able to play well. So
It's
give
26
them
days.
rice so that they have
They've still got
you know,
rewards. They've got
some brain
sanctuaries. They've
power.
still got stuff.
I mean, the rewards are shitty. You know what? I want to bring back like good rewards. You know, when they don't give them just like one rotisserie chicken. Like I think when we see that on Australian Survivor, it's always so fun when they get some really like fun reward. I feel like that's one of my favorite. That's why you love the auction. Like that's one of my favorite parts of. Not really. I love the strategy, but like I do really enjoy like these really fun rewards. I
You
think
ask Liz.
within
I
that
think
deprivation.
Liz really wanted that that burger,
Well,
So
only because Applebee's was like such a huge reward. In this in Australian Survivor, like every reward is Applebee's. Every reward is pretty
uh,
good, unless they trick
uh,
you. Unless they trick you.
unless we get tin bloody beans and a bit of
Yeah, well,
spam. So come
once
on.
or twice a season they're gonna do like the troll reward, but most
Yeah.
of the time it's like a fun thing. And then like I mean, it's so hard. I definitely lean towards rice because I
Mhm.
think that I want them to make the best interesting decisions. However, I do think you make a good point that like the deprivation leading to stupidity. I mean, we've seen a lot of stupidity on the current Australian Survivor. That can
Yeah.
be really interesting and funny. And it's the moment both will create conflict in their own way. Like people have said, like rice is like the ration conversation, which obviously we've even seen
Mhm.
in Australian Survivor, even recently can cause conflict. But then the deprivation leads to like Liz exploding because she doesn't
Yes.
have that.
Yes.
And it's those like kind of bottleneck moments where you're like so suppressed that like this
Yeah.
one thing it has like such kind of like an extreme catharsis or release or whatever. Like it's such an extreme price getting an Applebee's burger because you're so depleted. So I see both ways. I think just like I just don't feel great about them having nothing. And I don't
Look,
think I
as
like
someone
the
who's as
sense of
someone who
deprivation in general. So I think I lean rice. But yeah.
I'm allowed to say this because I've gone through it. So I
Yeah.
can, like if you're wishing no rice on someone as a
Yes.
player, they'll be like, screw you, but I've done it. So I'm
You
like,
played
nah,
46 days.
no
Yeah.
rice. Yeah.
You've earned it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You honestly have convinced me more to it than I thought I would be. I definitely see that other side. I think I still vote rice. But I think that there are interesting moments that will, and you know what creates those interesting moments either way, as we're saying, the casting, like as long as you nail the cast, they will make interesting moments out of either of those things. So I mean, that's interesting though. I think your point is a good one. I'm so torn on the Chizy. Should we do the Chizy?
Chizy. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go.
I feel terrible about my Chizy points. Take it away, Jacob Sega-Weinstein and MC Color.
1, 2, 3. It's getting kind of Chissy. 3, 2, 1.
Mark, I don't know if I can give the Chizy points I thought I was going to give. They're so counterintuitive and they're just completely opposite to everything we've said in the podcast.
Well, I'm going to follow you. You go first. I cannot.
No, I can't. I don't know. Okay, can I give you what I was thinking and then we workshop my points?
Go for it.
Okay, I was going to give 3 to Kevin. Okay, I don't agree with his decision, obviously, but he's so beloved. He's so well positioned. I think he's given himself more of an uphill battle, but I also think he'll come out of it okay because of the capital that he has. I think he's built enough to kind of work out the challenge he set himself, and maybe I should discredit him for setting himself that challenge, especially as I'm continuously more down on the decision. I definitely want to give him some points for the social game. Should it be 3? TBD. This is just my initial thoughts. So
I think you're basically saying Kevin is sparkly, therefore, and that's good, so therefore he gets Chizy points. That's what you're saying.
But should it be 3 now? Well, I said 2 to say for achieving her objectives. Her spot will only get better and more powerful. She has a 4. She has the idol. She won the vote. Can she win long term? No. But for the episodic Chizy point, should she even be getting 3 points? Because I feel like she comes out of here, she's bettered her spot the most from the potential that she had. Whereas I feel if Kevin makes the opposite decision, which I was more on tweener and then kind of started leaning against, and now the more we talk about it, I like less. So he started with these great skills that we should credit. But then, has he lessened that position by his decision, considering the incredibly high bar he starts at? I don't know.
So who's your third?
Well, I was gonna give 1 to Eva. She's not technically in the 3 with the guys, but the guys seem to like her. I think that's what they say. They all do like her. She's a workhorse. But it's more that I saw a confessional with someone who was I will put her above my own game. That is so powerful. And again, I don't think that this tribe's dynamics will play out in the short term. And I think that long term, oh my God, look what she's earned. But then in the honorable mentions, I feel like Camilla's running things. Kyle had that move with Kevin and is there with Camilla. Justin, to be fair, is a swing vote with Kevin. And maybe Justin's move is even better than Kevin's because it seems like Justin has more of the relationship with Say and Kevin had more with Steph. So just because Kevin's getting more of an edit, Justin still put himself in a swing position. Everyone's wanting to work with him. And maybe it was even better for him socially where he actively said he feels really good about Say. So should Justin get points? And then honorable mention, obviously Joe's in the majority of the bond with Eva. I just thought Eva gained more from it. Thomas and Shaheen are good in that California Girls Alliance, as we said with Joe as well. So I'm more torn than that. What do I do?
Look, I think you've made a good case for Justin just there, actually, even though I was giving him some stick before. You know what? I'm going to... Do you want to go first or me? What are we doing?
I'm so torn.
Look, let me go bold. Let me be bold. I'm head and heart, to quote the great D, head and heart. I'm going to not award 3 to someone from the Vula tribe. And part of my rationale will be because, and I know that we're very focused on strategy and stuff here, but the other 2 tribes still won challenges. And so I think that that's going to be my excuse to not give it to the Vula tribe because I can't give them any of them 3 because I really think that Kevin and Justin should have voted out Say. So I'm going to give 2 to Say. I'm going to give 3 to Camilla. And I'm going to give 1 to Justin because I think that you're going to go Kevin because of these sparkles.
I don't know. I think Justin now. I've convinced myself on Justin. Justin's in a swing spot with Kevin. Justin gained socially as much as Kevin did, but then also I think made a better decision than Kevin. But I'm still kind of down on it for them generally.
I think Karen burnt Mary, whereas I think Justin is going to be more of the glue guy in the Vula tribe. So yeah, whereas
that's a really good point. Kevin burns Mary. Kevin takes away Steph, who's more of an ally. Justin was more on the side with Say. Should Justin be getting 3 points because he came in as an honorable mention for me? But because we don't hear people like literally. It's when Kevin walks into the beach, they're like Kevin. Like Justin doesn't have that, but he still achieves as much socially, like pretty much as much as we've seen. Like he's still in the 4. He still is the swing, so everyone wanted to work with him. He still achieved as much, even if like he didn't have those moments. He still like
everyone's coming into his restaurant. Everyone's coming to his restaurant. They want to get his pizza. They're like, "Yep, you get a slice. You get a slice. You get a slice." Like he's just people come in, people go out. Whereas Kevin's like a bright shining light, and he's like everyone's like moths to a flame to Kevin. But then he's zapping them out. So
then do I not have space for either? Do I give 3 to Justin? This is completely different, clearly, to what I wrote down. But is it 3 to Justin, 2 to Say, and 1 to Kevin? Then, if I'm so
Kevin
down on
should
the
get
Kevin
some.
decision,
Kevin's
definitely getting some. Is it 3 to Justin, 2 to Kevin, 1 to Say? Is it? Oh my god, I'm breaking. Like I don't know what to do. I think it might be 3 to Justin, who came in as an honorable mention, but we've just convinced ourselves, I think, on Justin. So maybe Justin, Kevin, Say.
That works. So if you go Justin, Kevin, Say, and I go Camilla, Say, who did I say? I said Camilla,
Justin,
Say, and then Justin. Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Wait, you're going to give more points to Say than me, but I came in higher on Say than you did.
Yeah, I know, but I think that I don't, because I'm awarding her points based on one episode, but I think that it's short-lived.
Well, that's what the Chizy is. Should I do Justin, Say, Kevin, or Justin, Kevin, Say? This is the last. This is it, and then we know.
Well, who am I to tell you? But I think you should go Justin, Kevin, Say.
Kevin, Say. Okay. Okay. And Eva unfortunately got bumped through no fault of her own.
Whoever that fact checker, shout out to that fact checker who does your list.
Yeah, so I have a fact checker and Randy Noople who both do the chart. So just to clarify, I went Justin, Kevin, Say, and you went Camilla, Say, Justin somehow. Correct. But honorable mention to half the cast, like who all made the majorities. And like
Thomas, that mustache,
Joe.
Like incredible. What a choice.
Oh,
yep.
Do you know that Thomas discovered Olivia Rodrigo, which I didn't even know before I drafted him and made him my winner pick?
What, discovered her as an artist?
He works in music publishing, and I think he discovered Olivia Rodrigo.
Wow, that's huge.
I know. Imagine the world
LA.
without...
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's intriguing. I want to know more about Thomas. Oh my goodness.
Thomas, next time Olivia Rodrigo comes to Australia, can you help me get tickets? Because I missed out last time. They were so hard to get. He did that.
Wow, incredible. So who do you want to see more of in the, let's assume that like take away the reality that Vula is going to be going to every single tribal council. Who do you want to see more of?
I mean, so many people. I really like the Carl Camilla duo, the Holes Alliance. Taste.
Holes. Yes.
So good. Please watch it. Please come to City. We watch it together. Who else? I mean, we're going to see a lot of Vula. I can promise you that. So many people. Thomas was my winner pick. So obviously a lot of Thomas.
You can still win. You can still win.
No, I can't, because then I'd also need Justin to be in the final 3.
That's doable. It's not over yet.
Unlikely.
Keep hope alive, Shannon.
Who's your winner pick? 1 episode in, which doesn't really count.
Yeah, so I had no background on the cast at all. It's somewhere. If my top 3 are Shaheen, Thomas, and Camilla, in no particular order, and something about Camilla that I'm really attracted to, so I'm just going to go Camilla. Yeah, she's my kind of player.
We know as well the last season of the Chizy was a tie, so these conversations now can play out to the point where it's affecting it. It's that slim, but it's hard because I'm giving out 4 rounds of Chizy points a week, so my brain is scrambled, Mark, and I'm just keeping my head above water.
Just
I don't know even what I'm saying anymore.
It's turbulent waters, but you're going to be okay. It's going to be fine, Shannon.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming onto the podcast. This was so fun to break down the episode. I had such a good time.
Oh, that was all my pleasure. Thank you, Shannon. This has been good, and let's see where we go. I saw that mug, the joint Chizy presentation mug ceremony online. That was super cute. What a great season! The last season. That was fun.
It was great that they organically won Chizy together, and that that was great. It was the right thing to do. I'm really happy with that decision. I feel better about that than I do with my current Chizy points. I think I'm going to just ruminate on them for the next week, but we'll see how it goes.
Let it go.
It's
gonna be okay.
That's not me. That's not me, Mark. I don't let things go. You know me. This was so fun. Thank you so much. Thank you to our team behind the scenes. Thank you to all the listeners. And I should be plugging things. Sorry. Firstly, you plug. Listen to me. You plug. Where can people find you, Mark? And what you're doing is the first part of that. Listen to me.
I knew you'd get there. It's okay. I'm a
I
patient
was
guy.
wrapping up the podcast. I had my button over the end recording button with my mouse over it. But please.
You're like, oh, Mark,
Let me
anything
know.
bad? No, look, Instagram, Mark T. Warnock. And one thing that, if you've gotten this far, keep an eye out on the confessional. There might be a little article from you know who on there soon talking about what in Australian culture is different. So how do I say this again? Australian Survivor, US Survivor, we're different. What do you need to know about Australian culture, which makes Australian Survivor different? And then how do our best players use our culture to weaponize it to be great players? That's very wordy, but it's a lot clearer in the article. You'll see it soon.
I got a sneak peek, so I'm very excited to see that come out. Everyone check that out. For me, I have much things to plug, but I forgot to do the plugs. Here they are. Australian Survivor every week. If you aren't watching Australian Survivor, it's a very fun season. Get on board. We're 2 weeks in, which is like, a lot to be 6 episodes in. I'm really having a good time with it. 3 episodic recaps a week with Chappelle, Puya, and then Mike. And then a feedback show. We have one with Nikai Danza that's currently out. Next week will be with your former castmate on the torture wheels, Ferris. And
nice.
then we have one exit interview a week. And then for Global Survivor, covering 48 every week, next week will be Tessa O'Halloran, who will be chatting with me about.
What a lineup.
Yes.
I listened to that's a fantastic lineup. I listened to the Nick Yadunza one and man, he's good. I love Nick.
Yes,
You too, listening to you too is so good. It's fantastic.
Thank you. Well, this was such a good part of the lineup. I feel like it's been a great lineup and you've been such a good part of that. I think I can wrap the podcast out now. Follow me at Shannon Guss.
Let's do it. Hit the button. Let's go.
globalsurvivor.com. Okay, I think I've done it. Thank you all. As I said, I will see you next time.